The current Tundra has been around since 2014, but if we're being really honest, it's been relatively unchanged since 2007. For you mathematically challenged people, that's about 14 years. To put that into perspective, if you're almost 30 years old and you're watching this video, the second generation Tundra, the second generation, debuted when you were a freshman in high school. In that same span of time, the segment-leading Ford F-150 has been updated 4 times and is now on its 14th generation. The Tundra has soldiered on, backed by its faultless reliability, its criminally underrated V8 engine, and actual off-road capabilities. In TRD trim, of course, which this one is. But I just have one question as it pertains to this model.
What are those?
What's going on, everyone? Jax here, and today I have the 2021 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. And no, I will not be addressing my hair in any way. Look, to be honest with you, this video is completely pointless if I spend the entire runtime just sort of making fun of the Tundra's age. Yes, the Tundra is old. Very, very, very old.
She's too old.
But it hasn't survived this long because it's a piece of trash.
Clever girl.
There are some logical reasons why potential truck buyers might want to take a look at the Toyota Tundra. And the first reason is its looks. Weirdly, as the big three have sort of tried to find ways to sort of outstyle each other in the full-size truck segment, the Tundra's kind of classic good looks have aged incredibly well, in my opinion. While it doesn't quite look as premium as the big three, it sort of represents the essence of everything that a pickup truck should be, without resorting to cheap styling gimmicks like the current Chevy Silverado, or looking like it got face punched in Mortal Kombat like the Nissan Titan.
Get over here!
And this TRD Pro model adds some sort of toughness and coolness to the look, with a redesigned grille and front fascia in TRD Pro trim, as well as a front skid plate, for those of you that want to pretend that you're gonna go off-road. And it has 18-inch BBS forged wheels, which look really good and are unfortunately wrapped in baby shoes. Why have remote reservoir 3-way adjustable Fox shocks and then wrap your wheels in Hyundai Elantra rubber?
Don't worry about that.
Who wants Hyundai Elantra tires on their truck, especially their TRD Pro truck? I know these aren't actually like Hyundai Elantra tires, but why? The AT4 came with like off-road, big fat off-road tires. It just looks funny to me. Does it look funny to you? It looks funny to me. I just don't really get that decision. I mean, this is a TRD Pro, right? I mean, these lame tires make the TRD Pro look like it's wearing Crocs to go hiking or something. It's just not a good look. Let's leave it at that. It's not a good look. This is a pretty handsome truck overall, and the tires are just really bugging me apparently, all right? I'm sorry, they just bother me. Let's move on.
Okay. So that's how it's gonna be.
Especially because the Tundra can back up its looks with Toyota's fantastic V8 engine. I've said it a number of times in regards to Toyota and Lexus products. Toyota's V8 engine, or engines as the case may be, are incredibly underrated. They're smooth, they're torquey, they sound fantastic, and they give you the peace of mind that they'll probably last forever, at least longer than you. The 5.7-liter, 381 horsepower, 401 pound-feet of torque V8 in this Tundra is awesome. And the only real penalty here is that it's running through a 6-speed automatic transmission, which doesn't really do much for its sort of acceleration ability or fuel economy, to be honest. If neither of those things are priorities to you, you probably won't care all that much. But it is worth noting that the Tundra gets abysmal gas mileage, averaging around 14 miles per gallon if you're lucky. It's also worth noting that this V8 engine is kind of one of the only things that really enlivens the driving experience. So here we are in the 2021 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. As I've said, it's an old school truck. It feels old school, it drives old school, it rides old school. Everything about it, the steering, the brakes, the throttle, it's old school.
I don't know where I was going with that.
One thing that you notice right off the bat is that the steering is quite slow. It takes a reasonable amount of wheel rotation to get this thing pointed in whatever direction that you want to go in. We're turning onto the handling road right now, and the handling road is going to kind of expose one of the problems with the way this truck rides. It's very floaty. It's riding on these off-road biased Fox shocks, which I'm sure if you're into that sort of thing, provides some amazing off-road ability. But on this road and on most normal surfaces, there is a lot of travel. It doesn't lean too terribly for a truck, but the up and down motions, it pogos up and down quite a bit. It's not as out of control as the Ford Ranger was, because that thing rode like trash, but it's definitely on the floaty side. We're gonna come up to the big bump here in a second. I might go through this sunroof. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. Nope, but there's a secondary and a tertiary motion here that is kind of unnecessary. It definitely rides a lot more loosely than the Sierra AT4, which had a similarly off-road biased sort of setup with the Rancho shocks. Those seem to control the body motions a lot better than the Fox shocks do. Now, which setup is better for hardcore off-roading? I don't know. You would have to know a lot more about that than I do. But most of your time is going to be spent on the road. And on the road, this thing rides very loosely. Also, the throttle pedal's all right. There's not really a problem with that, but the brake pedal feels sort of like stepping on an old wet biscuit. It just kind of mushes down. It doesn't really sort of correspond to any kind of actual braking. This truck will stop eventually, but it sort of makes you second guess whether it'll stop. The seats are decently comfortable. They're flat, a little shapeless, but it's comfortable enough. I don't really mind the seats for truck duty. At a certain point, you have to be like, it's a truck, okay? It's a truck. So I think the seats are all right. It has Toyota's four-wheel drive system with an electronically controlled transfer case, electronically controlled limited slip differential, as well as sort of the A-track traction control system. Sadly, though, it does not have ceiling controls. And I find this to be a little bit of a disappointment. If I'm getting a TRD Pro of any kind, I want my frickin' ceiling controls. Come on now. You know how I feel about them. So then, what are the positives here? I've just sort of spent, a reasonable amount of time giving you a list of negatives. This isn't great, that isn't great. So what's the positive? Well, to be honest with you, it's this. Toyota's V8s are so good. They're just so good. And this one is no exception. It sounds good. It's smooth as butter. It's got sort of a TRD exhaust system on it. It gives a little bit more of that, vocal V8 rumble, whatever you want to call it. It's not even really a rumble in Toyota V8s. It's just a smooth crescendo of growl. and I really like it. Man, this engine is just a delight. 381 horsepower, 401 pound-feet of torque, which maybe I said, I don't know. Did I say it already? Maybe I did. It bears repeating because it motivates the truck with an urgency that you kind of want in your big full-size pickup truck. Now, if I'm being honest, and I'm gonna give you a little behind the scenes here, it is held back by the old 6-speed automatic with sort of tallish, longish, boringish gearing. I actually did a prior take of that whole like, it's this thing, and then I stomped the throttle, and the first time I did it, literally nothing happened. It just revved. It was like, no, I'm already in this gear. I'm just gonna stay in this gear. I'm not gonna drop down a gear. Why would I drop down a gear? You really wanna go that fast? Are you sure you wanna go that fast? Maybe you don't wanna go that fast. That's annoying as shit. If I stomp the throttle pedal to the floor, I want the truck to move. So I did another take of it with the whole like, it's this, and then I stomped the throttle pedal, and then the 6-speed automatic decided, oh, okay, you're a jerk, and it downshifted, and the truck went, and I made a face at the camera, and that's what you saw. And from a profit standpoint, I understand these decisions the same way that the 4Runner comes equipped with like a 5-speed automatic. And I'm sure from a reliability standpoint, there's people in the comments that were like, it's for reliability, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's a stupid way to go through life. If everybody went through life that way, football players would still be wearing like leather underwear on their heads and being like, it's only my 8th concussion. No, these old school vehicles from Toyota succeed in spite of themselves. Yes, they are engineered to be incredibly reliable, but it wouldn't hurt if they had an updated powertrain, primarily the transmission. There are aspects of this Tundra that make it still relevant even today, even though it's been around for like 14 years. And when you have, you know, Ford and GM products, specifically, you know, the AT4 that I had recently, it has the 10-speed automatic transmission, and that was paired to the Duramax diesel, and it was always in the right gear. And it responded instantaneously. I mean, we're just at a level where we expect these things now in these sort of 8 and 10-speed automatic transmissions that you find in so many cars and trucks. Oh man, Toyota, make another V8. Please make more V8s. Credit where credit is due. I can go on about the transmission's deficiencies, but God, V8 it really makes this truck like 60% more desirable than it has any right to be. I mean, this interior is, you know, I mean, I think the GM twins have kind of the worst interior of the big three, and it's way nicer than this interior. I think we should do it like one more time just to make sure the transmission, you know, is working properly. I love the way it winds it out. It sounds so good. And by the way, this truck is not fast. I mean, 400 pound-feet of torque is very healthy, but it's not fast in a vehicle of this size. But I had the 6.2 liter V8 in the Sierra Denali last month, and I actually wanted to hear a bit more from it. I felt like I wasn't getting to hear as much of it as I wanted to. Should take a page out of Toyota's playbook. And not to beat a dead horse, but kind of like the exterior, the interior feels pretty old. And it's assembled mainly from Tonka-grade plastic. Sure, I know, it's a truck and all that, but the big three have made strides to improve their sort of interior quality and materials, especially Ford and Ram. And that helps to sort of justify these vehicles' ginormous price tags. In a weird way, it's kind of more offensive here because of that. I know what you're saying. I certainly didn't mind or complain all that much about the interior when I was reviewing the Toyota 4Runner. Link in the description if you want to watch that video. But the 4Runner honestly doesn't have the same level of competition that the Toyota Tundra does. There's not really any vehicles like the 4Runner. So in my opinion, it sort of gives it a bit of a pass. And I'm not saying that the Tundra is devoid of technology or doesn't have compelling features. You get Toyota's 8-inch infotainment touchscreen with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, just as you'd expect, as well as a 12-speaker JBL audio system that's, pretty good for a full-size pickup. Toyota's Safety Sense system is here as well, with sort of pre-collision alert, lane departure warning, and adaptive cruise control. Although I would kind of like a surround view camera in addition to the standard backup camera in a vehicle in this price range, especially considering the TRD Pro sort of off-road sporty pretensions. So should you buy a 2021 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro? Well, I think that honestly depends on what you're using it for and how long you plan to keep it. If you want to buy a truck that'll likely last you the rest of your natural life, then the Tundra is a pretty solid choice. At just under $56,000, it's kind of a value if you want to think of it that way, compared to its competitors from the big three. I mean, the reliability factor kind of makes the Toyota Tundra a solid sort of work truck choice. But I don't really think people are buying the Tundra TRD Pro for work purposes. That means it's competing against trucks like the Sierra AT4 and Ford's recently announced F-150 Tremor Edition. And in that regard, there's simply no comparison. The AT4 I tested a couple months ago rang in at $64,000, and while that's $8,000 more than the truck you see here, it felt like $8,000 more truck than the one you see here. It came with loads of useful technology, a nicer interior, although that's not saying much, and a far more fuel-efficient Duramax diesel powertrain. Financed out over the course of a 172-month loan, which, if we're being honest, many people who buy these things do exactly that.
What? No.
The price difference between the two really becomes negligible. I imagine that the F-150 Tremor will be priced sort of similarly to these two trucks and will be likely, potentially, maybe even better than the Sierra AT4. Stay tuned for more on that. This makes the TRD Pro a tough sell at this price and in this company. And personally, I'm not entirely sure that it's worth it. Unless you desperately want the Toyota name, or this model's excellent Toyota V8, or you plan on taking this deep into Monument Valley, where ultimate reliability may in fact, I don't know, save your life or something. I just think you'll find more for your money elsewhere. Guys, thanks so much for watching this review. I think full-size trucks are actually quite interesting to review because you guys have very serious opinions about these vehicles. I think most people that are into trucks do. But ultimately, full-size pickup trucks have sort of become the new status symbol, the new sort of show-off luxury kind of vehicle. They really are. People use them for all sorts of things that have nothing to do with their intended function. I think the Tundra has a sort of purity to it that makes it kind of nice, kind of old school, sort of retro, if you will, kind of charming in that way. But I also think it lags way behind the big three in terms of the primary reasons that people buy pickup trucks. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm always interested to see what kind of strong opinions these pickup truck videos generate. I admittedly think trucks are pretty cool, but I don't own one, and I don't think I ever would unless I became a lumberjack or something. But I do enjoy making reviews, and I do enjoy bringing them to you. So if you like this video, please consider giving it a like, a subscription if you want to hang around and join this community. And either way, until next time, ride safe, drive safe. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace. Oh good, cyclists on the road. If you're driving a full-size truck and you come upon cyclists, it wouldn't take much to accidentally flatten them. I'm just saying. That's the downside of Neighborhood filming. Could do without that car alarm. Well, I'm just gonna wait till that car alarm stops. Just go ahead and pause filming while someone's car alarm goes off. What's up? It's one of my neighbors who has a really dope Mercedes E-Class. Yeah, like, did you put baby shoes on it? Like, what is that all about? Seriously.